Hello and welcome to Diminishing Returns, doing James Bond, as we often do. It's on Her Majesty's Secret Service this week, and it's a particularly good one because, as well as doing our usual shtick of reviewing the film and then pitching our own ideas for a sequel, I also do a big James Bond music quiz, which you can play along with at home. It's cool. That's it really. You know the drill. Enjoy.
Hello, welcome to the show. I'm Calvin, and with me are Sol.
Howdy!
And Alan.
Hello, Bond fans!
Now, this is a first... This may be the sixth Bond film that we're reviewing, but it is a first on the podcast for several things. Number one being, I am stood up, and number two... and number two... Can you hear that? That is the sound of a bottle of wine opening and being poured into a glass, because we are recording on a Friday night. I'm normally out with my workmates around this time having wine, and we're here podcasting, so cheers. What are you boys drinking?
Well, I'm not an alcoholic, so I can go without for a couple of hours.
God.
When did you last have a drink, though, Alan? Wasn't it 15 years
last
ago?
Time I had a drink, probably about 1999.
All right, so...
What do you have, Sol?
Just a big bottle of Pepsi Max Cherry.
Oh, you dirty bastard.
Oh, I thought you were drinking. Right, so today we're talking about the George Lazenby Bond film on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Yeah, well, yes, quite. And that's what many people would have said when it was announced in the late 60s that he was going to be James Bond.
Who the fuck was Sean Connery in 1960, whatever?
Sean Connery was at least in a few films. Darby O'Gill and the Little People. No, Connery had been in stuff. He was like a working actor. George Lazenby was a model from Australia who was in a chocolate commercial, and he came over to London deciding that he wanted an acting career, and then he decided that he wanted to be Bond. And this was the kind of era when if you were like cheeky enough and didn't give a shit, you could just like march into a producer's office and say, "Hey, I'm James Bond, give me the part." And they did. Yeah. No, literally, he literally went to the place where Connery got his suits and went to Connery's barber and just got all the the Connery accoutrements, and then waltzed into the office of producer Harry Saltzman, and then was immediately a contender. But he lied about his filming experience. He gave them a list of, like, I was in this film in China, and this film in Australia, and this film in blah, blah, blah. He'd never acted before. But don't you think it just, shows the hubris of the producers more than anything else, that they would be willing to take a punt on just, oh yeah, you can do this, yeah.
I don't know, maybe they got a really good vibe from him. I mean, I think he did a perfectly fine job as Bond.
Are you joking?
No, I mean, it's not his fault the film's shit, is it?
No, the film isn't shit, he's shit in it.
Nah, he's playing Bond, isn't he?
We'll come to that. I mean, from what I've seen in these Bond films, I don't think Bond producers have really got the hang of casting. They got lucky with Connery, and fair enough, you got a couple of solid actors in, like, as M, Moneypenny, whatever. But then everyone else is complete shit. The villains are always crap and can't speak English. The Bond girls are always just models. So
it's the girls that can't speak English. It's the girls that need to be dubbed afterwards. Villains are normally all right.
Goldfinger.
Oh yeah, he couldn't.
I
mean, I don't think George Lazenby really. He didn't bring much to the role, but he did it fine.
I thought he played it fine, but he doesn't bring any charm to it. There's no real personality there, and obviously that's what Connery brought to it.
But all Sean Connery brings to it is a bit of cuntiness.
Yeah, but
that's on the page, isn't it? So,
but Connery's just that's why he's a star. He's got that whatever the X factor is that makes you sort of the camera loves you. He's just got a little charm, a little twinkle in the eye.
I don't think George Lazenby has that, and I think we'll get into the film, and I'll point out specific moments where I think I think the script lets him down as much as he himself lets him down.
Well, before we get into the film itself, Calvin, can you give us the history? Okay, so we know Connery was sick of doing Bond.
Yes.
I guess they couldn't pin him down anymore. He left.
Yep.
So what happened? What was the fallout? How were they? Obviously, were they just waiting for someone to walk into the office and say they'd do it, or what?
Well, yeah, I mean, there was obviously a huge casting process, and many actors were auditioned for the part, and George Lazenby was one of those people. I mean, he did just swan in and got the part based on his screen test. One of the production changes here is that they kind of did away with a lot of the grandiose sets and all that kind of stuff and tried to go sort of more back to basics with this one. And I think with the new director, Peter Hunt, who was an editor and second unit director on the previous films, you can tell it's a much more grittier style.
Is it?
Is it? Well, yeah, compared to the previous ones it is. I mean, though some of the fights are much more brutal. It's like you really feel...
Are they?
Yes, they legitimately are.
So that fight scene when they throw each other into a room full of bells and all the bells are just going ding dong ding ding ding.
I mean, not that one specifically, but yeah, like that fight on the beach. It's they're
shot right. The fight scenes in this film, a load of them are shot like old karate movies, old kung fu movies. They've got whip zooms and they're like choreographed in a certain way. I would not call them gritty. I would call them pulpy.
They're gritty compared to the previous films. The only other fight scene I can think of that's on this level of grittiness is the Red Grant fight in the train in From Russia with Love.
One of my notes here actually does back you up. It says big long punch up on the beach, boring. Nicely shot though for the most part. So that
well, yeah, that's just it. It's like, the camera, like the cinematography, and they love their lens flares in this one and getting the sun, reflecting off all sorts of things.
Yeah, like that bit when the helicopter comes in at the end and it's like casting a shadow of itself as it comes in. It's quite nice, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some really lovely shots in it, and I think it's kind of unique in that sense. It feels more like... I know you want to laugh at this, but it feels more like there is a artistic director at the helm than the workman philosophy behind some of the previous ones.
I can agree with that, because... As much as I don't think I'm spoiling much by saying I didn't particularly care for this film, it felt, like you say, like there was more of a voice behind it, and I responded to that. There were a lot of little individual elements and moments that I really enjoyed, which is more than I could say about the likes of Thunderball, for example.
I'm not sure I would say there was any redeeming features whatsoever.
I could list all the redeeming features for me pretty quickly if you want me to.
Well, shall we go through the film?
All right. Yeah.
Can I ask again before we go into it? What was the publicity around at the time? Like, was it, hey, look, a new Bond? Was it sold as that? Or was it just another Bond film and people went in and was like, hang on, that's not Connery?
I think, when you look at the posters, it's like when you compare them to You Only Live Twice, which was like Sean Connery's name was as big as James Bond, as big as You Only Live Twice. It was Sean Connery is James Bond, not Sean Connery as James Bond is. And then you look at the poster for On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and it's sort of like, well, if I zoom in enough, I can see George Lazenby's name. Because they were so, like, they adored Connery, and everyone adored him. So, I mean, George Lazenby had a hard task. Roger Moore was courted at one point for being in the sixth film. Though I don't think it was going to be Majesty's Secret Service at that point. It was going to be Man with the Golden Gun, I think. But that fell through and never quite happened. And I think that'd be really interesting, because obviously George Lazenby is kind of like the fall guy, who you have to see how low things can go to climb back up the hill again and get a proper Bond with Roger Moore in a couple of films' time.
Well, that's it. I mean, I don't like this film. I don't think that's George Lazenby's fault. I don't think he does anything particularly impressive, but I don't think he does anything wrong either, really. It's a hard task replacing Connery. How much do you get paid?
Not as much as Connery.
So, we go from Scottish Bond to Aussie Bond.
Scottish Bond?
Ding dong. Hello.
Who is it?
It's Aussie Bond. All right, mate. Bloody hell. You doing a podcast here?
Oh, shit. That sounds like it's South African Bond,
South
actually.
African Bond. Oh, shit.
Anyway,
Yeah, so James Bond's driving along. That's this start, and that goes on too long. Then there's some misuse of a scope as he checks out a woman on the beach with it.
Teresa Di Vincenzo, Tracy.
Probably the best thing in the film, to be honest. She feels like an actor.
Yeah.
Which is pretty rare for the Bond girls at this stage.
Then she walks out into the ocean to kill herself, and Bond's like, "Oh shit, I was
looking at that."
Yeah, so he runs out to save her. Then we have a big title card, or is it the fight first?
No, we have a fight, yes, because there are some heavies who appear on the beach, and there's a fight sequence that we were talking about earlier,
Yes.
the one in the water.
And that goes on too long. And then there's the title card, which my note says might just be the tackiest image ever put together. It's a few naked women in silhouette, a British flag, a crown, and a cocktail glass, and it might as well have "Keep Calm and Watch James Bond" written above it.
That's Bond.
I think it's really nice. I really like it. But I'm surprised, Saul, that you brushed over one of my most annoying moments in the entire franchise.
Oh, yeah?
When she runs off,
is it when...
she leaves a shoe behind,
Oh,
and
yes.
he says, what does he say, Alan?
He says, "Oh, this never happened to the other fella."
Yes. Yeah.
Which, of course, is clear proof. So?
Is that even the line? Isn't it more like, "This never happened to the previous James Bond before I took over the role"?
This is why I needed wine, because I knew we were going to get onto this.
Okay, so let's deal with this then. We've established by now that, yeah, in the James Bond universe, there are more than one James Bond, because it is, of course, a codename.
I mean, it isn't. It's the problem is with this thing is that it is canonized in the film series, and all you can take it as is just like a tacky wink to the audience joke. And that's all it is here. I mean, it's like I've heard people sort of try to make sense of it in film universe by saying that Bond is referring to Prince Charming when he says that, because he's like holding the shoe, and it's
But that's
like,
literally what happens to
oh,
Prince
she's like
Charming.
Cinderella.
That is exactly what happened to the other
Yeah.
five in that case.
Yes.
I mean, what? But like in universe, I mean, I'm annoyed that I'm coming to your defense here. Really, I like winding you up about this, but surely in universe he could easily just be talking about 001 through 6 or
Yeah, he could.
someone
And
else.
he just happened to look
Like,
off into the middle distance when he said it. You know.
Well, that's it. It's the fact that he's sort of like, he's not looking directly at the camera, but he might as well be.
Yes.
It's really irritating, and it's you know, other Bond films don't do this. It's not like every time. It's the only fourth wall breaking moment in the whole series, I think, apart from perhaps at the end of Live and Let Die.
I thought I had a hat when I came in. That's leaning on the fourth wall.
Yeah, it is.
What about when
isn't
that
it?
pigeon does a double take?
The pigeon doesn't break the fourth wall. A double taking pigeon could legitimately
No, I'm
exist
sure.
in this
I'm
universe.
sure the pigeon looks straight down the camera and then like rubs its eyes with its wings and throws a bottle of alcohol away.
No, even when they have like Soul, you'll be loving it in a few films' time when we get to. There's a series of films that feature drunk men like seeing something extraordinary, looking at the bottle, and then spitting out the booze. So you'll love those.
Yeah, I will.
In fact, one of them has two of them. They have a man with a bottle and then a man smoking something, and he looks at the thing smoking and then.
Whoa! But yeah, and then later on, he goes is in the office and he's going through Sean Connery's desk and finds all Sean Connery's old stuff.
Yes.
And then
Well, this is another irritating thing about it, because because we have the main title sequence, which shows a lot of like past Bond films in a montage. You see Dr. No and From Russia with Love and Goldfinger and whatnot. So it is like you break the fourth wall then by making me think that, okay, this is a different guy, and then you show me these two sets of sequences to try and reassure me that, oh no, it's the same guy, don't worry about it.
so this is the same guy, right? And Blofeld is the same guy, right?
Yes, I know where you're going.
Go on then. How come when they meet and he's pretending to be undercover or whatever, how come,
Yeah.
well, Blofeld doesn't just go, oh, hello, James Bond, we've met. Remember?
We met last year in Japan. We were in that volcano. My cat was freaking out.
So, what's that about then?
That is because they wanted to do a fairly straight adaptation of the novel on Her Majesty's Secret Service, which, in the Fleming book order, took place before You Only Live Twice. So that's why it's there. It's really stupid.
Yeah, it's just badly written, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah, no, it is. It's like no one. I don't know if they felt like they were making a clean break, or if it just hadn't occurred to someone that just because they were different actors, didn't mean that the characters wouldn't notice.
It was 1969. No one had home video yet. They weren't expecting people to watch these films in quick succession and what have you. So
No, but I mean, it's not as if this was like a little detail in the previous film that
it's the same villain.
people would forget. Yeah,
well, is it?
exactly.
Or is...
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure, actually, Blofeld's a codename.
Oh, well, that would explain it.
But yeah, we have a different Blofeld because they wanted a more physical Blofeld who could have fisticuff fights with Bond, and Donald Pleasance is not that man.
How do you feel about this guy, then?
I don't like him all that much. I mean, I think he's fine, but he doesn't, he's not a mastermind villain to me. He's more of a heavy. It's like he
doesn't
could be
feel very
someone's
menacing,
folkish
does he?
henchman. Yeah, exactly. After the title sequence, we have more scenes of Bond and Tracy, and she's introduced as a self-destructive character. She's gambling even though she doesn't have any money. Bond sleeps with her, whether or not he should, whether or not that's a sensible decision.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's definitely on her self-destructive character traits list, I agree.
He slaps her as well, I believe, in one of these early scenes. Or he twists her arm when she's got the gun.
That's probably fair. Someone's got a gun on you, you're allowed to disarm them.
I know that James Bond's a prick, but in this film, I really feel like he's like a real prick. Now, is that why people think George Lazenby's a bad Bond? Because they just think, wow, what a prick James Bond is in this film.
I think that is one of three elements as to why people think he's a bad Bond, depending on what your perspective is. I think what you present is one of them for a certain kind of fan. I think, on the other hand, you have he's too romantic. He's too, they have this lovey-dovey montage later on to a Louis Armstrong song.
That's not George Lazenby's fault, though, is it? That's...
No, but it's how the film presents his Bond, is what I'm saying. He's presented as a,
He's presented
Connery...
right, knobhead. He orders caviar. No one likes caviar. It's just something rich people eat to show off. No one actually enjoys it.
I had it at the British ambassador's house in Israel, and it was great. So, get it back in your box.
You would like it. I mean, I've had caviar. It's fine. It's just not good. I'd rather have some nice anchovy fillets or something.
Ugh,
if you're going to eat fish, smoked salmon.
Well, yeah, obviously smoked salmon is infinitely better.
Well, exactly, but it's also like significantly cheaper. You only order caviar to show off.
It's just salty tapioca.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's that he's a soft Bond to some other people, and one of the other things I think is that he spends a good portion of this film undercover as a homosexual genealogist, and he has his voice dubbed. And the problem is with George Lazenby, he is not a good enough actor to be acting as James Bond, acting as someone else. Like, I think Connery had great fun with some of his undercover sequences, Japanese Bond notwithstanding.
Oh, whatever happened to him?
Japanese Bond.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then because he has his voice dubbed for a lot of the film with this other guy, and he's
when he's doing his own voice.
Yes.
Is he dubbed then? Is he dubbing himself? Because it never at any point looks like he's actually speaking.
Well, a lot of it is looped, so I don't know what kind of accent he had when they were actually filming, and if he tried to affect a more English accent, or what was the deal there, but yeah. That's why a lot of these early Bond films, they don't quite feel like their voices are coming from their bodies, because it's kind of, all
none of them
in.
do. It's all shit.
My second note about why James Bond's a cock is something they actually address later on in the film, so maybe they were intentionally setting this up, though I don't know if that is the case. Well, I made a note when I was watching that he never says please or thank you, and it was really annoying me. Because he just picks up the phone and he's just like, caviar, orange juice, right, and then puts the phone down. It's like, say please.
You're not going to speak like that to the help. You just fucking, I want it now, get it. And then you give them a nice £1 note to keep them happy.
But then later on in the film, Tracy says, like, "Oh, you're welcome," when he's in the car after she saved him.
Yep, well, Tracy is a better person.
Yeah. But that's really weird. That feels like the film's gone meta and she's meant as this kind of Frank Grimes who's coming in from the real world to tell James Bond, like, stop being this character that doesn't work within reality. But it doesn't really play like that in any other scene. It's very weird.
No, yeah.
Anyway, my next note is Whistling Dwarf.
Ah, yes, the dwarf whistling Goldfinger. Yes.
So what's that?
It was the director's decision, I believe. They talk about it in the commentary. He just decided that he wanted a little person to play that part.
I think that is emblematic, really, of this film in general. It's got a lot of weird humour in it. And I kind of like that it feels like it's having more fun than the films before it, but I can't really think of any scenes that are actually funny, so doesn't really work. I guess the fight scene in the room full of bells was quite amusing. I'll give it that one, but
I didn't get any humour out of it. I didn't get anything out of this.
There's loads of bits that are meant to be funny, but it's just stuff like, oh look, there's a little person sweeping up for no reason. That's a gag. Oh look, Cinderella shoe. Haha, joke. The last guy, get it? Joke. Oh, Moneypenny's crying. Haha. It's just stuff like
that's
that.
Not a joke.
That's
Isn't it? It's just a joke. She's like, oh look, Moneypenny fancies him, but he's getting married. Oh, I always cry at weddings. Oh, isn't that a joke? I don't really understand Moneypenny and Bond. Can you explain it to me, Calvin? Are they meant to be like Ross and Rachel, and we're meant to be rooting for them to get together?
Well, no. Moneypenny has come up with this front that she puts up to deal with the sexual harassment in the workplace that she faces every day. And she has to pretend that she goes along with it. Otherwise, people think she's frigid and a frump, and then they just sort of get rid of her. You just got to play the game enough to keep those men in power happy.
She's exactly the same with 008, 009, 005.
Actually, she's shagged 005 at the Christmas party. One of my early notes was, I'm 10 minutes in and I already have no idea what's going on. Who are these people? I was this film did not draw me in at any point.
Yeah. I mean, I knew what was happening, but I wasn't drawn in at all. And it's the second time I've seen it, and I was struggling to force myself to follow it.
It does meander for about 25 minutes, probably. Well, it's not really heading anywhere until Bond meets with Tracy's dad, and then we get
even that.
Some bit of plot.
The first, half hour with Tracy is utterly just nothing to do with anything, but then they bring it back at the very end of the film.
Because you have to see those two characters bonding.
But only to then give us a 20-minute epilogue at the end of the film that doesn't really need to be there either.
Well, we'll talk about that when we get to it, but...
So, yeah, he meets with Tracy's dad, and he's desperate to get his daughter laid. It's really creepy.
Well, because he thinks a good shag will sort her out. She doesn't need to go to a mental health hospital or anything. Just good man to tell her what to do. That's all she needs.
Well, no, because the thing is, right, she's a strong, independent woman, and he needs to break that. So he needs a strong man who will put her in a place, and that's what Bond does.
You were going to take issue with this, Alan.
No, that's what Bond does. That's what Bond's always done in that way. But in the way that we're supposed to see it as like a dominant man, women will respond to that.
No, I feel as if the film's playing it as if she'll stick up for herself and she won't go along with that shit, and she is quite
She tells him to piss off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In the film's defense, it was, I think Tracy's quite a decent female character for this franchise, other than the choice of outfits they have for her in each scene.
I think it'll take us a long time to get to another female character as well written as her in the series.
Yes.
It will take about
No, actually, I do like the character, and the fact that they end up together through their own choice, even though the dad comes off as a bit of a dick, but we kind of go, okay, he's a dad, he's trying to do whatever.
But this is all in exchange for Tracy's dad revealing the whereabouts of Blofeld, because he knows it.
Oh, yeah, her dad, by the way, is like the daddy of the biggest crime organization in Europe.
Yes.
But, whatever. No problem pissing those people off.
So this film really probably could have just opened here. Bond's been told where Blofeld is, and he's going to go do that.
You could make that argument, but bearing in mind, it is supposedly, I've not read the book, but it is supposed to be a relatively faithful adaptation of that book, and I could see how this is a novel adapted to the screen, without much liberty.
And yeah, so Bond goes off to a big snowy mountaintop ski resort.
Yes. And then they meet with Sir Hilary Bray, who Bond is to impersonate when he goes to Switzerland, who is a genealogist, because Blofeld is really bothered about claiming this Count title that he thinks that he's eligible for, which is strange.
Yeah, funny thing, snobbery.
But yeah, Bond does head to Switzerland, and this is where the film really comes alive for me. I love all the stuff in Switzerland. We meet Irma Bunt, who is Blofeld's henchwoman.
Well, let's not forget his amazing disguise.
What is
His
Clark
pipe?
Kent?
He carries a pipe
and
around.
Well, his voice completely changes. So
to a different
I think
actor.
he's a master of it, which George Lazenby only found out like after filming had all been done. Apparently, it was like, oh yeah, we need to get in this guy.
Had he been playing it like, oh hello, it's me, James Bond? Had he been doing all that on set, and then they were like, this isn't working?
Maybe. But I mean, this is a pretty cool set, isn't it? This like hotel up on the
yes,
mountain.
alright.
It's a classic Bond villain lair sort of thing, where all these beautiful women are being treated for their allergies and cravings
so
and whatnot.
What's that all about?
Well,
why doesn't Blofeld just hire 12 people to take the biological weapons around instead of this elaborate thing where he lures 12 people over to his place, then has to systematically brainwash them over the course of however long they've been there, hope that the brainwashing takes hold, doesn't become, get deprogrammed or what have you along the way. Like, what? Why?
I mean, I'm all right with that, because it's sort of, you can justify it in a narrative sense by like, oh yeah, they don't even know they're doing it. They're never going to double cross you. They're going to do it guaranteed.
But he's got a shitload of henchmen on his payroll. Just send them off.
But from a Bond villain point of view, it's all right. My problem with it is like, why are these people like, one of them's like, oh, I was really terrified of potatoes, so my doctor said go to this place in Switzerland, and
it's got no track record whatsoever. It's brand new, but
why have they all got? Because they describe them sometimes as allergies. But then, the one says she was scared every time she even looked at a chicken. But she owned a chicken farm, I think. Is it a phobia? And it's sort of psychologically cured of allergies? None of it made any sense, but it felt very sort of 1960s science.
Yeah, this is before people knew about psychology.
It just makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, did phobia exist? Is that why they have to use the word allergies? Because it does seem to be phobias more than anything else. Yeah. Anyway, Joanna Lumley's one of them. Did you spot her?
Yeah. She has one line, and she's. And then
I also Christmas to Hillary. Line.
And I also put a note here. Ooh, a northern Bond girl. That's what we wanted. Like a proper northern Lancashire lass. It's like listening to Jane Horrocks being a Bond girl.
I was going to say I was getting Jane Horrocks vibes from her. Especially when she was going on about, the chickens, I don't want to be a pie.
But I quite liked her. I liked she had a bit of spunk about her, like a bit of character.
Yeah, she should have been the lead.
Yeah,
much better
What? Other than Tracy?
She's other than Bond.
Oh, right. Oh, fair enough.
I'd much rather watch a film with her skiing around, shooting at Blofeld and stuff.
And the whole film basically is what happens in this Swiss hospital, and like everything that came before is a bit irrelevant.
Yeah.
Other than to set up the Bond-Tracy romance, which is most of what the first hour of the film is, and then when we get here, it becomes more plot and this is your mission.
It does feel like two separate films that they've sort of shoved together.
Yeah,
because even when she comes back at the end, it seems to be just coincidence that she happens to be there.
So
did Bond maybe I wasn't paying attention enough because I was bored or what have you, but did Bond break up with Tracy before he went off to the Alps?
No.
What a dirty dog.
Because he proposes to her as soon as he sees her when she does come back at the end of the film.
Yes.
But he's been shagging his way through all 12 women in this, systematically working his way through.
It's just
Sex and love can be two different things for some people.
Yeah, but this was 1969. I'm surprised audiences were okay with that.
Where's your next note? Because for a while now we have scenes of Bond like interacting with the girls and Bunt and
my next note is when he gets locked in a room, and it's why do they lock him in a room that's really easy for him to escape from and just leave him to escape?
Is that... Oh,
that's when he's in the lift shaft. That's later on.
Oh, okay, but that's not easy to get out of. He has to go along the cable car line.
Yeah, but there's a clear exit route. It might be a bit of a challenge, but they lock him in there. Go, I can't see any way he's going to get out of here. Yep, fine, leave him here. Oh, well, there is that little precarious hole in the wall he could climb out. No, it's slightly dangerous, so no one would be stupid enough to even try it.
I have another note here. It's two parts. Firstly, why can't Blofeld smoke properly?
He can't, can he? I'm so happy you picked up on that. It really annoys me.
And the second one was, didn't the previous Blofeld disapprove of smoking? So maybe it's a new habit that he's picked up. And he hasn't quite got the hang of it yet.
Cigarettes that kill you.
Maybe he has a special way of smoking them that stops you being allergic to them.
He doesn't take the smoke back, does he? He just he doesn't even drag on it. It's really weird.
I might be misremembering, but in the next film, aren't there a load of Blofeld lookalikes? So is this guy one of the lookalikes and the real Blofeld's still out there?
No, because in the next film he looks completely different. He's a...
Yeah, they're really shit lookalikes.
Grey-haired Englishman.
Well, maybe we've only seen his lookalikes up until now. Up until then. That's the first time we see the real Blofeld.
Well, we'll get into more continuity issues with the Blofeld appearances later.
It's clear the codename theory holds up here because this is obviously a completely different character to the one we've seen before. It's just
because Blofeld
It's no, not just that. It's just a different personality. He acts differently.
Oh, right, okay.
It's just like this is a different Bond. It's clear. It's not the same person.
But he has the Garou watch from Russia with Love, and he has Honey Rider's knife.
Yeah, well,
How
he was
get
going
them, Alan?
Because he was going through Sean Connery's
desk.
box of belongings.
And he's having great reminiscings about places he never went, people he never met.
Yeah,
he's like, Sean told me about that. He shagged that girl, in Jamaica.
And now I'm picking up the legacy. Oh man, what a legacy to be continuing. I'm so proud.
I hope I can
until he
do
comes
it for
back
a long
and
time.
takes his job next. Takes his job back next time.
Well, yeah. He's just filling in on the real Bond went off for 2 weeks leave to like marry someone, but he wasn't quite sure if it was going to last or whatever that was about. So this guy's filling in for 2 weeks. So has there ever been an official statement from the Bond people about the codename theory? Have they ever acknowledged it?
Not to my knowledge, no. And they sort of, in one of the recent Craig ones, they sort of touched on the issue in a way, because there's a friend of Bond who's dying in his arms. This is one of the Daniel Craig ones. And Bond says to him, the guy's name is Mathis, and he says, is Mathis your code name? And the guy's like, yes. And then Bond says, it's not a very good one, is it? And it's sort of like, oh, well, is that an acknowledgement that Bond is a code name? But then they sort of undo that immediately with the next film in Skyfall, where they make a very direct link to James Bond's heritage. But anyway.
Yeah, doesn't he have a tombstone with his name on it or something?
With his parents' names on, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, so he might just be called Sam Bond. And the code name's James Bond.
But
anyway.
And then he's... Anyway, Blofeld's his brother, isn't he? So what's that about?
Oh, let's not get started on that. Let's not even go there.
So this skiing scene, right? It feels like the entire film is being constructed around the idea that there will be a scene where they ski down the mountain having a...
It's bloody good,
shootout.
though, isn't it?
It is pretty good. Yeah. As far as these films go, that's quite a good scene.
Yeah.
Especially when you see like the behind, like people just hadn't seen this kind of thing before, and it was like the cameramen like had the camera, they were skiing with the camera like between their legs and all this kind of stuff to get some of the shots. It's really well done.
There's a lot of very dated stuff in there with like it looks like some kind of covering over the camera keeps coming into shot at one point, and a lot of the shots look almost like they're done on a green screen. I assume they weren't, but it's got this weird kind of
Yeah, some of the shots are sort of like Diana Rigg on her knees being dragged behind actual skier, like actually on the set. But some of them, I think, are like with like a back projection thing.
Oh yeah, that'll be one.
Oh yes.
But I mean, it for the time, yeah, it's quite good. It's quite impressive, taken as a product of its time, and it's certainly the most entertaining part of the film up until this point. Then they have a fight, and they go into a room full of bells, and they're just punching bells.
You've mentioned that quite a bit. You enjoyed
it's brilliant.
that, I suppose.
They're just like, smack a bell, ding, ding, ding.
That was one of those, like, when you hear the director talking about it, it was like they were like location scouting, and they just came into this room, and the director insisted that there must be a fight sequence in there when all the bells collapse.
It's the best part of the entire film.
Okay.
All it was missing was there needed to be just a big gong stood against the wall for the last bit. Where he just chucks a guy into the gong and it goes.
Well, one of my favourite moments of the film is coming up, where Bond is rushing through a crowd to escape Irma Bunt and the villains, and he rushes into a man. No, Irma Bunt. Irma Bunt. And he rushes into a man dressed as a polar bear, and then shrieks in the polar bear's face, which is another very un-Bondly thing to do. But no, my favourite bit is when he sits down next to the ice rink and he thinks that the bad guys are going to get him, and the editing's really quick and choppy, and then Tracy ice skates over to him and the camera pans up and it's her. I think that's a really lovely moment.
There's a lot of sped up footage in this film, isn't there?
Oh, yes, yes. Well, this was the director was the editor of the previous films, and I mentioned in those ones how I hate the sped up editing and the jump cuts and all that kind of stuff, and this film is full of them because it's that guy directing the whole thing.
Yeah, Tracy turns up again.
Yes.
So, yeah, Bond proposes. I can't believe Bond's gonna tie the knot. It's good. I mean, it makes sense. It's going to put a fresh spin on the dynamics of the franchise. That's exactly what you need to stop the series going stale after 6 films, I guess. So that'll be great for the 7th film, a married Bond. It'll be fresh and exciting.
Some new ideas.
Yeah. Instead of just the same old shit again. So yeah, brilliant.
Just before we get there, we have had a car chase
bold move,
where I think that another reason why audiences didn't quite take to Bond is that, and I think it's good for this film, that Tracy is the one behind the wheel. She's the one doing all the dangerous driving and getting out of the situation and flipping over other cars and all that kind of stuff. But Bond is literally in the passenger seat throughout the whole sequence. And I think it's brilliant for her as a character, but for an audience who weren't used to this new Bond guy, after we've had films of Sean Connery going around in a really cool Aston Martin and, you know, shooting baddies and all that kind of stuff with great gadgets, I think it was probably, even if it's only a subconscious thing, I think audiences probably didn't really take to Bond being in the passenger seat.
That's interesting. I didn't even pick up on that. I mean, to be fair, I wasn't engaged with the film, so I was just like, wasn't really paying attention.
That's a really interesting point, actually, yeah.
Obviously, it wasn't George Lazenby that came onto set and said, you know what, I'm not going to drive the car today, I'm going to be in the passenger seat. But I think the way it was written, if this was Connery and we were already established with him as the big macho hero, that would be fine, but...
I think if it were Connery, though, he'd be playing it like with a look of terror on his face as she was behind the wheel, and he'd be making little sarky comments about women drivers and stuff.
I don't think Sean Connery would let a woman drive.
But just on that subject, what would you think, how different would this film be if Connery was in it? Because it is such a stark stylistic change from the previous ones, I would say. Would he fit?
I can't say. I mean, I think this film's worse than the previous ones. But I think some of the previous ones are as bad in terms of the story structure and all that. And Connery, just a bit.
No, it's not as bad as Thunderball. That's the bottom of the barrel, but
quite.
But it is pretty bad. This one, it's tonally, it's got a lot more going for it. I'm more inclined to kind of pay attention to the individual moments and scenes, but it just doesn't add up to the sum of its parts at all. The other films are maybe more boring and conventional, but they're more coherent.
I think the other ones are more fun. I think this is a great film. I really do. Genuinely, I think it's quite wonderful. But has a bad Bond.
What even happens? Bond meets a woman, then he goes to a ski resort, and there's some brainwashing, and then he has a ski.
I really get into the love story, and I think the villain's plot is good.
I quite like the love story, but it's 20 minutes at the end.
No, it isn't. We talked about this. It's like a good 45-hour-long.
No, that's him talking to her dad about like getting paid money.
That's part of the love story, and we have the lovely montage. Did you like that?
No.
Ugh. Do you not like We Have All the Time in the World? It's a lovely song. I want it at my funeral.
It's a good song.
Well, no, actually, I want that and You Only Live Twice.
I want Jack White and Alicia Keys' Another Way to Die.
Oh, Sol.
I can't even remember how it goes. I was going to sing it.
I only know it because they keep playing it on... Oh, damn it, you know it.
Oh, brilliant. What a brilliant modern interpretation of James Bond music. Fantastic. Just what we needed. A Bond theme for the ages.
Bond proposes, and then Bond and Tracy go out, and Blofeld and his henchmen follow them. We have more skiing.
Oh yeah, and now there's my actual favourite moment in the film is here, I think.
Is it
the avalanche?
No, Alan's going to get it.
Well, I've got is it one of the henchmen skiers skis into a wood chipper, gets spurted out all over the place, and then the psychopathic Bond goes... he had a lot of guts.
Yeah, yeah. It's the film's Evil Dead moment, and it really like tarnishes Bond's character though, doesn't it? It makes him seem like so crass and like you say, purely psychopath. Like,
yeah, that isn't a witty retort after the main villain has died.
It's like Bond, a man has just died.
Well, no, people die in Bond all the time, but just not normally in such horrific fashion.
He doesn't then go like, "Oh, that cunt just got shot," which is basically what he says.
Well, I've got a little game here for you, if you like.
Oh, brilliant!
I came up with some psychopathic remarks that Bond would make after someone had died, and I want you to sort of we'll try and figure out how that person might have died.
Right.
So the first one I've got was, he was a chip off the old block.
Wood chipper again?
He was a chip off the old block.
I mean, the beauty of this is there's no correct answer. It's whatever you see it as.
Bond sneaks up behind someone with a big kind of chisel and a mallet, smashes it into the back of his skull, takes a quarter of his head off, and then says that.
Is it like someone frozen in like a huge cube of ice and Bond like kicks it over and it smashes?
That would be good, yeah. Okay, what about this one? Don't forget to cancel the milk.
He's in like an Alzheimer's home.
It's
strangling the inmates.
They're having a fight on the top of a milk float. Like that Father Ted episode. They're just like on the roof punching. And, he manages to knock the guy down and then the float crashes with him on it or something. Or no. They're fighting in a farm, at the top of the farm, and he punches the guy and he falls down into a herd of cattle beneath that haven't been fed and they're hungry. And then you hear this kind of, and there's a splurt of blood up into the sky, and he says that.
Okay, what about this one? Up Periscope.
What?
Up Periscope.
Is that a pun?
Well, that could be anything.
Is that a joke?
No, it's not. That's the whole point. It's just this weird thing that's
Up Periscope. So he's on a boat or a submarine. He's on an enemy submarine.
I think he's like having a fight with a guy, and he's got like a lead pipe, and he like stamps it through the guy's head, and his eye comes out the other side, and he says, "Up Periscope."
I think he just shoots a guy in the head.
It says it for no reason.
And no one knows what he means. All the other henchmen that get away are like talking about it for months. Just like, what's that?
Okay.
But yeah, the like it's not a wood chipper, is it? It's like a snow plow or something that the guy goes in. But it's an uncharacteristic death for a minor and unnamed henchman.
It's an uncharacteristic
that's the kind of thing that you would
death
give
for
to
a Bond movie. It's too red and it's too gory.
And it lasts for ages, and everyone's like jumping through it on their skis.
It's horror
like a
comedy
fountain of blood
stuff. It's really like over the top. It's more.
It is
you
odd.
don't normally see that much consequence in a Bond movie.
Yeah.
The end of this, if you're ready to go to it, not the end of the film, but the end of the chase. It's the first bit in the film where it sort of caught my attention. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I like that. And it's the bobsleigh chase scene.
Yes, I wanted to talk about this because
I like that. I thought it was a really nice concept. A bit of dodgy back projection, but basically well filmed.
It's bizarre, isn't it? The first time I saw this film, I thought the exact same thing. That is the one scene in this film which just comes alive, and it's so much better than the rest of the film. I genuinely quite enjoy that bobsleigh scene.
I'm so stunned. I really don't like it. I think it's terrible back projection.
Why
the back projection is awful,
it's the same as
yeah.
the skiing. The skiing's got that same clunky bullshit.
The skiing is largely actual skiers, like, out there filming it.
Yeah, and then they'll have a
things.
shot of George Lazenby back projected as he turns around.
Yeah, but not as much. Like, about 80% of this bobsleigh fight is back projection and
But
George
who cares
Lazenby and
what
Telly
they're still
Savalas.
portraying a fun little bobsleigh. I mean, it's absolute nonsense that
It takes me out of the reality of the scene.
they just jump in bobsleighs and have a race. But like,
This is after they've blown up the hotel that the hospital that Blofeld has on the side of the building.
This is the one point in the entire franchise, really, up until now, where it feels like James Bond is operating at that kind of silly, tongue-in-cheek level that everyone always harks back to. Everyone always goes on about the heyday of Bond. Oh, I love the silly Bond with Roger Moore.
That's Roger Moore, yeah.
No, I know, but this is the only thing I can think of that I've seen that really genuinely taps into that kind of energy well. Maybe the hover gondola, I've seen that as well, but
That's Roger Moore.
I felt like it had genuine tension in the scene. It was like, oh, what's going to happen? And like there was, the grenade, and there's those nice stunts where Bond gets blown up and thrown out of the thing, and I mean,
jumps on the other, he like has to run across and jump on the other bobsleigh, and I like it.
And then there's that great bit where he leaves Blofeld, he kicks him out of the thing, and Blofeld gets his neck wedged in between two tree branches. And Bond, he doesn't go that much further down the hill, but this dog runs up to him.
Yeah, you're not going to give his line.
He looks like he's branched off. Is that it? Yeah, that is it, isn't it?
Just before this, we've just gone past a couple of bits I want to point out.
Oh, sure.
When this scene kicks off, the Bond theme starts playing, like the James Bond theme. Doesn't
The
it
assault on the Piz Gloria hospital that Blofeld is running. Yeah.
Doesn't that seem really out of place when it starts playing?
This is the last time in the official series that they play that particular version of the Bond theme, because that's the version that was in, like, Dr. No.
Yeah.
Like, 7 years earlier or whatever. It is odd that they didn't just do a new version of it.
And then later on, Tracy's having a fight with someone, and she throws him into some convenient spikes that are just hanging on the wall.
Yeah, some spike decorations.
It's handy there, really.
It's the
some
60s.
Nails in a piece of wood hanging on the wall.
And it killed him immediately.
That too, yeah.
Well, it would if it went through your spine. Anyway,
I don't think it did.
Of course it was. It went right through the middle of his back.
It goes through
it
his
wouldn't
sides,
kill you,
doesn't
though.
it?
No, it doesn't. It goes through his back. Definitely.
I think it would paralyse you if it went into your spine. I don't think it would kill you.
They're only like half an inch long. I don't think it'll do that much damage at all.
Yeah, and he's got a big, thick coat on.
I'm just grateful that they gave her something to do in the climax. Like, they gave her a proper fight. I really like that.
And so anyway, then the film's basically over, and we have the extra bit of pathos that's got nothing to do with the rest of the film tacked on. So, this bit...
What do you mean it has nothing to do with the rest of the film? It's set up. Like, Bond is falling in love with this woman. It's not like a standard Bond film and then, they're getting married.
Was it set up when he was shagging the 12 other women? Because, I've got to have one last fling before I can really know I'm in love with this woman.
Just because he's getting married to someone doesn't mean he was faithful to them forever. Like,
So is he falling in love with her? Absence makes the heart grow fonder? Is he... spends the majority of the film's running time away from her?
He's met this girl, he likes her, but he's got a business to do, right? He's got to go off, whatever, boom. He goes to do his business. His business involves shagging people. He's fine with that. Then he bumps into this girl again. He's like, do you know what? I really like this girl. And we have this great bonding experience. Where we're
James
in this
bonding.
Yes. We're in this tumultuous thing that's going on, and she's saved me. Like, she's got a lot of spunk. I like her. Do you know what?
She'll have my spunk in her soon.
Disgusting. Like, you know what? Maybe I'm ready to settle down, and this will be the woman who can handle me.
I don't know. To me, it just feels really like not massively developed. It feels like they should have made that the focus of the. They should have done a film about that. I would have liked that.
They did. This is it.
No, not really. It's a half-assed version of that.
Oh, for God's
sake. I kind of agree with you, Sol, but I think this is as good as it's going to get in a Bond film.
No, I agree with that.
So it's just like, okay, I'll take what I can get.
Wait until we get to the Daniel Craig era then, because I think there's a better love story coming up.
I mean, yeah, basically they go, they have a wedding. It's all pretty boring rom-com stuff. Just lovey-dovey, sappy bullshit. And then they drive off into the sunset.
All his workmates turn up. All the guys from the office turn up at the wedding.
Yeah.
I mean, if a bad guy had set a bomb at that wedding, would MI what are they, MI6?
Yes.
Would they have to close down?
No, they'd be fine, Alan. Just that's one of the load of codename people. Like, they've got another M in waiting, they've got another Q, they've got another James Bond. It's fine. That's the point of it.
Anyway, you know the scene. There's a particular shot where Bond and Tracy are driving off, and the camera raises up to the sky, and we see like over the flower bunting that they've got and all that kind of stuff. Do you remember that particular shot? That was supposed to be the last shot of the film, and then it was going to be the end, and then everything that comes afterwards would have been at the start of the next film.
I mean, that explains why it feels so rushed.
Couldn't they give us one film where he is married instead of immediately undoing?
Yeah, let us get used to it before you break it away. Yeah,
it's like when Family Guy killed off Brian and then brought him back the next week. It's like, no, you've got a decent story arc going here. Let's explore the different dynamics we can play with for a bit, and then go back to normal when we're bored of it.
Yeah.
And then they
agree.
make the weird choice to make James Bond turn into Norman Bates at the end of the film when she's dead, and he's just there going, "She's okay. She'll wake up in a minute. It's fine."
Well, I'm gonna know that I really liked that, but it felt totally out of place.
I liked it, except that they're never going to acknowledge it again in the entire franchise.
But I put
they do
in a good film with a good actor. That would have been great, but it's just so out of place here. It doesn't feel right for Bond. Like, it doesn't fit his character. It doesn't fit this film.
It doesn't feel adequately set up. It doesn't feel like the film's trying to make any kind of point with it. It's a really nice scene that, like Alan says, it's just not... It doesn't make sense here. And like I say, I think if they gave us a full film of the two of them married, and then they could kill her off at the end of that film if they had to, or the end of the next one, there'd be some real emotion to be had. But because it's the Bond girl of the sixth film, and we know they never stick around for more than one film, and it's just the disposable sidekick, it just doesn't... You're just waiting for the film to get rid of her, frankly, and it just doesn't work like it should. And it's a shame, because it taken without the context surrounding it, it's quite a nice scene.
I think it's a great scene at the end of a great film, but I agree that it is abrupt, and I think it would be more interesting to have a film where Bond has his wife around, or even just to like stick it on the front of the next one, but
even just make the next film deal with his grief a bit more.
Well, yeah, but they don't do that because no one liked George Lazenby.
Is that why they opted to not include that scene at the end in the next film? Because they knew they were going to recast him, so they couldn't use the footage in a film with a different actor.
It's curious, because as much as they didn't like him, I feel like it was more of a mutual thing, because George Lazenby was signed up for 7 of these, but George Lazenby's agent said, Bond's really passé, it's the late 60s, it's swinging, it's hip, who's gonna, they're not gonna be making these for much longer anyway, you don't want to be tied to this really floundering franchise, just do the one film, get the exposure, and then get out. And he took that advice, and that's what he did.
That's good advice.
Worked out well for him.
Well,
So, but I don't know at what point in production it was decided that, okay, that's going on the end of this one, because I can't imagine that if history had worked out the way it did and Connery came back for the next one, I don't even know what they would do. Like, they wouldn't get Diana Rigg back for, a scene, they'd probably just write out of continuity, quite frankly, and just pretend it never happened.
Or you just, believe he's still married to her and just going off doing what he wants on the job, works and, work life separate to his romantic life.
Yeah, could do.
Probably is married already, to be honest. Probably got like 5 wives.
Like Rodney Dangerfield.
Well,
Probably got 5. Yeah.
Well, he did marry that Japanese lady in the last one.
Yeah, there you go. So, there's no theme in this film, really, at the start.
There's a musical theme, but there's no... The only song with a singer is the Louis Armstrong We Have All the Time in the World, which is played in the middle in a montage.
And that's very unusual for the franchise, right?
Well, I don't know how much of it was a conscious, because you'll notice that at the very opening in the gun barrel sequence, as the gun barrel is going along, just before it opens up and we see Bond walk along and shoot the thing, the dot stops midway through the screen and then it opens up and says, the producers present, and then it goes on. And they did that in Dr. No as well. And these are the only 2 films where they do it. And those are the only 2 films with instrumental themes. So I wondered if they were trying to set a precedent of every time we get a new Bond, we're going to open in this particular way.
Okay.
But it's curious. I don't know how you'd get On Her Majesty's Secret Service into a chorus.
Yeah. On Her Majesty's Secret Service!
But I really like the instrumental song. And I really like the Louis Armstrong song.
I think the Louis Armstrong song's one of the musical highlights of the franchise, certainly.
But it's probably the most what's that? What I'm looking for? Out of place, inconsistent.
Yeah.
Well, that's a song I knew for years before I ever knew it was from a Bond film.
Well,
yeah.
Alan, are you familiar with Bond music?
No, not really.
Oh,
The Skyfall.
Because I've got a game for you two.
All right.
So
for me.
Well, Calvin, you'll probably want to sit this out and just kind of make comments from the sidelines because you'll probably know the answer to all of them. Alan is not a Bond superfan, will be tested. So I suppose it's a quiz just for Alan, really.
Okay, what is the nature of the quiz?
I'm going to play to you a series of musical clips. These will be all sorts of things, ranging from film score to bits from video games to bits from... Basically, you have to tell me, are these legitimate James Bond products or, not? Are they...
Okay. So have they been officially used in Bond film/games?
Let's go with, has any money been paid to the Bond franchise? Because I've got some cover versions in here as well, and they count as official and what have you. Like I say, there's bits of film score, so it could be music from the middle of one of the films. I've got bits from video games. I've got rejected themes. There were a lot of theme tunes that were handed in for each film, pretty much, from different bands and artists. So
yeah, they'd caught many musicians for the theme songs. It'd be
So I don't think I've got any actual Bond themes in here. They're all kind of weird, deep cut Bond themes, and you have to distinguish them from the fake things. I'm going to do a few test ones just to get you used to the idea before we start the game proper, all right? So these are easy ones, all right?
Should we have a jingle?
Yeah.
Do 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 do.
The Bond quiz.
Oh, brilliant!
All right, so the next 3 are also all tests because they're very easy. All right, so have a listen and then tell me if you think it's a real Bond thing or not a real Bond thing.
A man of intrigue, he lives for the thrill. Always has places to go and people to kill. Danger is the game he plays, and he holds every card. 'Cause if you wanna win, you gotta spy hard.
A beautiful voice.
Do you know what that was?
Spy Hard? Was it
that was a theme from Spy Hard by Weird Al Yankovic, so it's a nice easy one to get us going.
It did sound like a parody of Bond, so...
Yeah. Like I say, these are the practice ones before we get into the real challenge. You ready for your next practice one? So obviously that last one would be not a real Bond production, in case there's any ambiguity about that.
We need catchy phrases. So Bond or Schmond.
Oh yeah, why not? Let's do that. Bond or Schmond.
All right.
Alan, is this next one Bond or Schmond?
We have all the time in the world. Time enough for life to unfold.
That's a different song.
Sorry, was that Bond or Schmond, Alan?
That is Bond. That was Louis Armstrong.
Good, you're getting the hang of this.
Time in the world from On Her Majesty's Secret Service. 1960.
Okay, I've got...
That's when you get one right.
What happens when I get one wrong?
They never... The old guy never had any trouble with this. All right, last practice one before we get into this properly, all right?
Okay.
He's got a gun and great big man tits. He's got your ears and tiny
That's Joe Cornish.
Dame Judi Dench is furious with him. He's gone completely out to lunch.
Is this...
The quantum of solace.
But only a quantum.
I don't know what that means. What does it mean? Something flashbacks in black and white.
Yes, Alan, Bond or Schmond?
That was Schmond. That was Joe Cornish doing presumably some sort of Bond song battle with Adam Buxton, but I can't remember what the theme of it was. Was it just Bond themes?
The theme was right, the theme for Quantum of Solace.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, which was at the time an upcoming film. They're your nice, easy ones.
I got them, which is the good thing.
Yeah, well, don't expect that for the... All right, so like I say, you've got rejected themes in here, you've got parodies, you've got video game music, music from the films, music from other films, foreign versions of stuff. You've got all sorts.
Oh, I'm going to love this.
All right, so here we go. Question number 1. I feel good. That's not it.
He thrills me, he kills me, he gives me the feeling maybe it's love. He charms me, disarms me when he looks in my eyes and tells me it's love. He calls me.
Getting going now. It's quite a long clip, this one, just because I wanted to wait till it got going.
He tells me he loves me, and I look in his eyes and give him my love.
It's good now, isn't it?
I love that song, legitimately.
That sounded very musical theatre to me. Is there some sort of James Bond the musical that I'm not aware of? 'Cause that's what it sounded like. Like a spurned Bond girl.
If Alan can't give the answer, can I? Just to make me feel relevant.
Yeah, so what are you saying, Alan? Bond or Schmond?
Unofficial Bond musical. So Schmond.
Okay, I mean, you're right, it's not real Bond, but you're wrong, it's not from a musical. Calvin, what is it?
It is the theme song to Operation Kid Brother, the James Bond rip-off / spoof starring Neil Connery, Sean Connery's brother.
Do you know who wrote that song?
I don't actually, no.
Ennio Morricone.
Yeah, oh shit, yeah, I was just about to say that, because it's one of those Italian... Yeah.
Great bit of music. So that's one point to you, but you're not playing against anyone, so it doesn't really make any difference.
Okay, good.
On to number 2.
It's been so long. And I've been putting out fire with gasoline.
Putting out fire with gasoline. I've heard that before. Oh, shit. Oh, why have I heard that? That sounded like something from the early 2000s doing a pastiche of something from the 80s. So I'm going to guess it's some sort of fakery, some sort of parody thing. Schmond.
Bond or Schmond?
Well, you are correct. It's Schmond, and you're surprisingly accurate. It is. It's actually Electric Six covering David Bowie's "Cat People," my two favourite musical artists combining.
Is that something from the early 2000s doing the 80s?
No, it's from the more recent 2000 somethings doing something from the mid 80s.
Not bad though.
But very closely, yeah. And obviously that was the theme to Cat People, the film. Written by...
Starring Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah. Also used very prominently in Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards.
I love that film.
Written by, what's he called? Gregorio Moroder? What's he called? The guy who wrote, like, every theme tune to a film in the 80s. Anyway, on to the next one.
Oh, Japanese Bond. It's Chinese
No, this is
Bond.
Indian Bond, surely.
I was born with this unlucky sneeze, and what is worse, I came into the world the wrong way round. Pundits all agree that I'm the reason why my father fell into the village pond and drowned. I was born under a bad sign. All of Trinidad said it was a bad sign.
Trinidad?
Hindus and Chinese, Africans and Portuguese, everybody worry about my sneeze. Achoo!
That sounded like someone doing a bad Indian accent.
Yeah.
Obviously, I immediately
was.
think of Peter Sellers, but it wasn't him. I'm going to have a guess here. And I haven't seen this, but is it the Love Guru with Mike Myers, who has obviously Bond connections?
Is that Bond or Schmond?
Schmond, then I would go with.
No, I'm afraid that is a legitimate Bond artifact. That was the song Good Sign, Bad Sign, written by Monty Norman.
Bad Sign, Good Sign, I believe.
All right, Bad Sign, Good Sign, whatever it's called. The arguably offensive musical theatre piece that was later abandoned and recycled into the theme to Dr. No.
A House for Mr. Bizwas, and that was Monty Norman, I believe.
Yes.
who was singing the
So
song.
he just took the music from it. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, he
Yep.
wrote this song for a musical and it fell
That
apart
never got
and he just
used,
reused it.
Well, he composed it and John Barry rearranged it for Dr. No, and which was the subject of a lot of legal disputes between the pair of them for several decades.
But they did eventually rule in favour of it being...
Monty Norman's,
Yeah.
Which is why you'll see his name at the end of every Bond film.
So what was the theme of that musical?
It's like someone with a big nose having a sneeze or something.
Yeah.
Is he called
I don't know, it's all
Ashu?
very vague.
You ready for the next one?
Yeah, go on then.
像花雖你紅，如冰霜不動，卻像有無數説話，可惜我聽不懂。是杯酒漸濃，或我心真紅。
If you were struggling to make that out,
It's
just
because
to
it
be
was in a
clear,
different
they weren't-
language.
Yeah, I was going to say they weren't singing in
I
English.
did. I was about halfway through when I figured that out. Yeah. That sounded like a legitimate Bond song in a different language. Like it sounded legit enough. So I'm gonna go Bond in some sort of foreign remake.
Well, I'm afraid that's a schmond, actually. That was a song performed and written, I believe, by Stephen Chow for his film Beijing with Love, which is a kind of spy movie comedy, I believe.
I guess they were using Bond as an influence, obviously. But
Yes.
Fair enough.
All
I've
right.
never seen that film.
I do like Stephen Chow.
I like what I've seen of Stephen Chow, yeah.
Moving swiftly on.
Don't look over my shoulder. I'm trying to read. Remember these intimate moments. Don't forget my privacy. We both have our orders and a trick up the sleeve. There's no use pretending you're asleep. The subject was
That sounded like Blondie to me. I'm going to go with officially sanctioned Bond attempt that wasn't used.
Ooh, you've got a very good ear, Alan. That is exactly what that was. Blondie's
But I'm not sure what
theme.
film. 80s?
For Your Eyes
For Your
Only,
Eyes
was
Only,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what that was. They wrote a arguably superior theme for Your Eyes Only.
Oh!
It's a good song
song?
there. I like Blondie there.
Oh, it's a good song.
What's the actual theme? For Your Eyes Only.
Eyes Only.
All right, next one up.
There's a rumble in the sky and all the world can hear it call. They shudder at the fury of the mighty thunderball. The power of her engines now is drowned in the sea. But the deadly force from within her is somewhere running free. Thunderball, your fiery breath can burn the coldest man. And who is going to suffer from the power in your hand? Thunderball.
Okay, that well, it sounded like a theme tune to a western. So I think it's probably a theme tune to a film that is called Thunderball, but it's just a coincidence. It's the same name, but it's not actually the Thunderball. So I'm going Schmond. I think it probably predates Thunderball.
I'm afraid, Alan, that's actually a real, officially sanctioned but rejected theme that Johnny Cash wrote for Thunderball.
There's no way you could have believed that was going to be playing on Thunderball. No way.
It's absurd, isn't it?
Like a spaghetti western Bond.
I mean, that's the song that sparked off this game, quite honestly, because it's ludicrous to listen to. It's better than the actual theme, though.
Oh, fuck off. That Tom Jones song's brilliant.
Nah.
Like
Nah,
Thunderball.
boring. Next one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yay! I love this game.
Well, I've heard that it's cold. I've heard that it's a finger. Hey, don't shoot me. I'm just a bloody singer. Some folks like 'em bronze, others like 'em silver. But this man loves his gold. It is his favorite finger. Goldfinger.
That can't possibly be official.
Sure,
That sounded like
anything,
I know,
yeah.
but that sounded like quite shoddily produced. Like it was done for like not badly produced, but it was done for a radio show, like someone doing a skit about Bond in a radio show. So that's what I'm gonna go with, like Kenny Everett or something like that.
Again, you've got a very good ear. It is actually from the Peter Serafinowicz show, which was a TV production. It's him doing Ringo Starr.
Oh, I said it's Thomas the Tank Engine.
It's his rejected Goldfinger theme. So. Okay.
Oh wow! Oh, I got the Ringo Starr element anyway.
Next one.
I think that is a rejected official theme, probably from either late 90s, early 2000s. Am I correct, Calvin? Was there a Bond film where there was an entire score done and it was rejected for one of the Pierce Brosnan ones?
Oh, you're close. It wasn't entirely rejected. A lot of it did get through, but a lot of it was rescored. That's GoldenEye, yeah.
Was that the one I'm thinking of then?
I'm afraid not.
Oh.
That is actually the theme from Hot Fuzz, which was composed...
See, I didn't recognise it.
Was composed and orchestrated, is that the word?
By David Arnold.
By David Arnold, who is the James Bond composer nowadays.
Fair enough,
and they actually...
Well, not anymore, but...
Is he not?
No, he did 3 Brosnan ones and 2 Craig ones.
Well, he was at the time, and to...
Yes.
He had the Bond orchestra recording the theme for whatever Bond film, Quantum of Solace, I guess, 2007.
Yeah, it will have been.
Or maybe Casino Royale, whichever one it was.
Yeah, depending on what the release dates were.
Yeah, and when they were done doing the Bond music for the day, he just quickly recorded that, so Hot Fuzz got a full orchestra on a fraction of the cost. So, there you go.
Brilliant. Oh, maybe that's why they didn't ask him back for the next one.
Moonlighting.
It's 4 each so far. I've beaten you on 4 of these, but you've got 4 right. But I think you're going to get the next one. It is a cover.
Glang, glang a lang a lang a lang a lang a lang. Nobody does it better. And I'm a naked woman in silhouette with a gun, spinning round. Makes me feel sad for the rest. Nobody does it. Oh, bit of nipple. Quite as good as you. Baby, you're the best.
That was Alan Partridge in the TV show I'm Alan Partridge, recreating the beginning to The Spy Who Loved Me because Lynn poured Sunny Delight all over his videos. And Peter Serafinowicz also in that scene.
Oh,
as well.
Yeah. That is correct, and that is technically a Bond because it was...
I was going to say, they would have had to pay for the rights to use it.
Exactly. They paid to create that cover version there, so... Yeah. All right, next one.
I'm going to go with unexpectedly real Bond, officially sanctioned one that was rejected. I can't place the voice. No, I can't even put an ear on that one. One of the Brosnan ones, maybe? No, go on.
No, I'm afraid that was Electric Six again. I just wanted an excuse to play more Electric Six. That's fucking in Another Man's Clothes by Electric Six.
There's no connection there whatsoever.
I just like Electric Six. Wanted to play some more.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
Right?
Is this just because we've been talking about one of my favourite things for 2 hours? You feel like you have to get in one of your favourite things?
Hey, look, I like Electric
Because
Six.
you know we'll never do a podcast on them.
Well, maybe we will. They did a film.
Oh, did they?
And we've got another 18 Bond films to go. Actually, 20 if you count the unofficial ones.
By the time we've done them, there'll probably be another 2 Bond films out, so...
By the time we've done them, this podcast probably won't exist.
That's true. We'll be dead. Next song, anyway. Oh, that takes me back.
That was Robbie Williams' Millennium. Now, that's obviously nothing to do with Bond, so I think it's a trick. And there's something in that was like sampling a Bond song that he had to pay for, and so I'm going to go Bond.
You only live twice.
Is that from Dyson?
It's the theme from You Only Live Twice.
Yeah. I can't remember it.
You're good at this game, though. You know.
Was that?
You're
was that
really good at this game, Alan.
Considering how little I know about Bond and music.
yeah. You're using logic.
I was going to say, you're
Was that-
very good at working my thought process out.
So was that an official thing that he
Yeah,
sampled,
they
or was
sampled
they
it,
get
yeah.
sued after it?
I'm pretty sure he just paid to sample it.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I can imagine Robbie Williams has done a couple of Bond songs trying to get in.
Yeah. Well,
Seems
he did. Let me just check. I haven't got it coming up in a minute, but he did do a theme tune for Johnny English. So there you go.
there you go.
Yeah. Right. Next one.
The curse has been lifted, tonight I'm on the loose. The gift has been regifted, advantage back to deuce. Cutting through the toxic brush of lonely millionaires. Through the crowd I hear hush and watch you feel my stare. And boom, 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 these hearts succumb. Aiming at your innuendo, I got you on the run. Every time you move your feet, well then you take another stride. Get closer to the meat and to the juices inside. It swallows up the night.
On the Electric Six again, was it?
Yeah, it was. They are good.
Is that a schmond?
I think I'm still unconnected to Bond. I didn't recognise what it was though, if it meant anything.
No, just Electric Six.
Just another Electric. Okay, fair enough.
Good. Right, next one.
Wake to see your true emancipation is a fantasy. Policies have risen up and overcome the brave. Greatness dies.
Well, the music there was definitely some Bond music. In fact, it put me in mind of Daniel Craig Bond, but I can't quite figure out why. And that sounded sort of a vaguely European accent singer. I think that's got to be some sort of official thing, because I'm sure that music was sampling at least. So I'll go with Bond.
No, I'm afraid that was Radiohead cover band Muse with their song Supremacy.
Wait a minute, what? No, it's got a Bond connection.
Has it?
Yeah, because that was their, rumour has it.
They were
that they
desperately
submitted-
trying to... Oh, did they actually submit that one?
Rumour has it they submitted it for Quantum of Solace, but the producers didn't go for
okay.
it. I guess I don't know if it's confirmed.
I was going to say,
or not.
I'm not going off rumours here. I'm going off paper trails and things.
Cold hard fact
Yeah.
in Wikipedia.
Well, they just put it out on an album afterwards. Oh, maybe they did submit it.
Yeah.
It'd make a lot of sense. It sounds desperately like they're trying to do Bond.
Yeah. For sure.
Hello, me here. Apologies, but yeah, I did completely fuck up in this regard. It turns out that this song in question was used on an official trailer, so they almost certainly did have some official ties and submit it only for it to be rejected. Not entirely sure how I missed that. So it would appear I've sullied the good name of the Bond or Schmond quiz. I can only apologise. Anyway, on to the next one.
That's Maudlin Bond. That's the last one. But I'll say official entry for Spectre. Was that the last one?
Bond or Schmond, Alan Stick?
Bond.
Damn.
Bond.
Yeah. No, that was the actual Radiohead rather than their
Was it?
imitators before. Yeah, the actual Radiohead submitted a theme to Spectre that was rejected in favour of a much shitter song that Calvin thinks is much better.
I love that song.
And Radiohead have ties with Bond going back because they used to cover Nobody Does It Better in their live set sometimes. I've got a little clip of that for you now.
But did they do it better?
Yeah.
Nobody does.
Nobody does it.
Whiny Connery.
Why'd you have to be so
And that was the only clip I could find that was sort of vaguely in tune. To be fair, it was a live performance, you know. Not all perfect.
Can't expect live musicians to be in tune, can you?
Next one.
Haven't we met? Some kind of beautiful stranger. You could be good for me. I have a taste for danger. If I'm smart, then I'll run away.
So, okay, Madonna, Beautiful Stranger. Obviously, she did a Bond theme. So, you wouldn't just drop a random Madonna song in there. So it's got to be Bond. Like, this was one she did for another Bond film, but it was rejected or something like that.
I'm afraid it's Schmond, actually. That was the theme tune that Madonna recorded for Austin Powers' The Spy Who Shagged Me in 1999, 3 years prior to her doing an actual Bond theme.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Fair enough.
It was released as a single from the film soundtrack rather than one of her albums. So yeah. Right,
Fair enough.
Next one along.
Well, that's using the Bond theme. That's definitely. I'm going to guess that's from a computer game, an officially sanctioned Bond game, so I'm going Bond.
No, I'm afraid not. That is from the Game Boy game Spy Muppets Licensed to Croak, which rather brazenly outright rips off the James Bond theme in amongst its Muppety.
Wow.
That is a sort of Muppety Bond, yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
That is something. Yeah, that's quite impressive.
What a thrill, with darkness and silence through the night. What a thrill, I'm searching and I'll melt into you. What a fear in my heart, but you're so supreme. I give my life, not for honor, but for you.
I didn't recognise the voice, but I will say that it is a rejected official Bond attempt, and I'll say it's for like The World Is Not Enough.
No, I'm afraid that was Schmond as well. That was the theme from Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. the video game, and if I'd let it play for about 2 more seconds, you would have heard the backing singers going Snake Eater, which I'm particularly fond of. Right, 3 more.
And what score is he on?
I'm beating you, Alan. I've got 9, you've got 7, or I've beaten you 9 times to your 7.
Oh God,
So
Alan, you need to get these 3.
you need to get all of these.
Win.
My reputation hangs by a thread.
Yeah.
My Bond music reputation. I'm going to revert back to my previous answer. I think that's an officially rejected World Is Not Enough. I'll just go the same again. Bond.
Well, you're right in that it is Bond. That's actually the theme tune, the actual theme tune to the James Bond video game GoldenEye Rogue Agent. I believe it was sung by Natasha Bedingfield.
Oh.
Yes.
And Paul Oakenfold was involved, and he did some stuff in the film, didn't he? So.
Oh, Alan, you're catching up.
Yeah, you're catching up. Let's see if you get this next one. This is a toughie, this one. This is probably the hardest one.
Fire in the disco. Fire in the Taco Bell. Fire in the disco. Fire in the gates of hell. Does you want to know how many kids die in fires? It's my desire. It's my desire. It's my desire.
That is one of the 2 Electric Six songs I could name. So it's got to be a schmond, unless so some very great quadruple bluff you're trying to do.
No, I just wanted to play some more Electric Six.
So you're tied.
But there is a bit of trivia there. The female vocals on that track, quote unquote female vocals, are performed under a pseudonym by Jack Black, who of course did a Bond theme of his own.
Did he?
Not Jack Black, the other one, Jack White.
Jack White.
I was going to say that. I would have missed that one.
Deary me.
I can't believe you're neck and neck. This is making this finale incredibly exciting.
Yeah, a quiz that has a 50-50 answer is neck and neck. What a shocker.
Don't mock me out.
I mean, I'm putting that in 1998, but I don't know what it is. Okay.
Bond or Schmond, Alan?
I'm going to go Bond.
Alan.
Yes.
You have won the Bond
Yay!
quiz. That was I think it's more recent than that, but it's Devil May Care, the theme tune recorded for the official James Bond book of the same name and included on the audiobook version.
Is this when the books have theme tunes?
2010, I think that book was.
Calvin, I've got a little treat for you here at the end.
Hooray!
So I'm just going to play that.
2008 was Devil May Care.
Wow.
Blimey.
Anyway, Calvin, here's your little treat.
Who's that man behind the curtain? His kiss will make you certain of the one name you'll be flirting during love making. Kelsey, Kelsey. One touch and you're not caring how much you paid repairing that china hutch that you kicked down the stairs during love making. Thanks to Kelsey, his name is Kelsey, his friends call him Kelsey, or sometimes just Kels.
Oh, this is brilliant.
His name is Kelsey, he's very wealthy, he doesn't have to be doing this.
Who sang that?
That was the end credits theme from an episode of 30 Rock that Kelsey Grammer guest starred in as himself, as a sort of James Bond pastiche version of himself, I suppose.
Oh my god, Kelsey Grammer playing a James Bond pastiche could not be more at my alley.
I keep telling you to watch it.
Oh, well, yes, I shall have to. I enjoyed that very much. At first, I thought it was going to be that Simpsons end song from You Only Move Twice.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Oh, that was so much fun. It's the most fun I've had all week. And I've had sex this week.
Woo!
I haven't really.
Oh, well.
Should we do some pitches for sequels to...
Oh, shall we? Yeah, let's do exactly that thing.
I'm going to get mine out of the way first, because I've just done that wonderful quiz, so that's what I've been putting all my effort into, so just bear that in mind. Alright, so my pitch is you actually look at the end of the last film and you do something with that, right? So we pick up with James Bond, and he's not doing very well, and the other thing is, you know, there's all this talk about having more diverse Bond, like a female Bond, a black Bond. Well, what about a fat Bond? I think it's time, don't you think?
The world is ready.
So this film is called Fat Bond. That's the name. Alright? And it's set after the end of the last one.
On the poster, can the B be like a fat belly that's been tugged in by a belt to create
Absolutely.
the B? Okay, good.
And honestly, that's about as much as I've got, so you're going to have to help me with this. So I was thinking, you just do a standard Bond film, but like Q's got to get him some special... Is it Q? Q's got to give him some special gadgets that like work with him being a big guy. It's harder for him to disguise himself. Like the car's wonky on one side. When they lock him in the room, he can't climb out the little window. He won't fit.
I've already got a couple of good moments for you. Okay, yeah. You know the little jetpack thing he has. Right? That can't lift him off the ground, can it? Or is it Little Nelly?
Yeah.
Little Nelly, that can't get off the ground. Or what about the ejector seat? He shoots off the ejector seat, but he just doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
it's just a huge explosion underneath.
It propels the car into the ground. He orders caviar to the room, and then when he takes one little bit of it away, he takes like just a full like shovel's worth of caviar out of the room with him.
Oh dear.
What about the sex scenes?
Oh dear.
Very,
the girl
very
that has
sweaty.
to be on top.
Would he have to have fat Bond girls? Because
no,
you got a pitch in your own league, right?
Not James Bond.
No, I think it should just be exactly like a Bond film is, except Bond is fat.
Exactly.
So this is an examination of how men can men can be out of shape and still get.
No, it's just a load of fat
Hollywood
jokes.
Oh, good. Okay.
So who do you think should play Bond? I was thinking Eddie Murphy in a fat suit, but
Rosie O'Donnell.
Are there who's the current like legitimate fat actor?
John Goodman?
Melissa, what's she called?
Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah,
so she's the
Bridesmaids.
comedy fat person of the moment.
Yeah,
but she is a woman. I think that affects things.
So it needs to be a man. Are you saying?
Is there a comedy fat guy at the moment? Who's your Chris Farley, your John Candy at the moment?
We had Philip Seymour Hoffman. He wasn't a comedy guy, but he's
Jonah Hill.
Well, yeah, depends what day of the week you catch him on. But, yeah, I guess so. Jonah Hill.
Can it be called Octofatty?
I guess so.
Okay, yeah.
I think we can probably do better than that.
I think we need some pun titles here.
Never say never again. To liposuction.
Diet
never say
another
never.
day.
Oh, that's a good one. Tomorrow Never Diets. I mean, it's basically the same joke, but just a different title.
Golden Pie.
Very good. Very good.
Oh, a huge quantum of food. Casino buffet royale. Casino royale with cheese.
Oh, brilliant.
Dr. No salad, please.
Thunder meatballs. That was good.
So I think we've put that one to bed.
Yeah,
Oh, dear.
that's it.
But, you know, it is a disease.
No, it isn't.
For the record, I'm overweight, so I'm allowed to make fun of fat people.
Well, this is what I was going to say. I just registered with a new GP, and I went to for the first thing where you get your measurements taken, and they just make sure they do a general health check on you.
Oh.
And as such, they took my height and weight, and my BMI, apparently, at the moment, is just nudging into obese. So I'm not even overweight anymore. I'm classified as obese on my BMI.
You are a short man now.
Yes, I am only 5'2".
But you're not fat. You're bulky.
That's it. I'm not even particularly fat, but
yeah, no, you're
because
not.
I'm quite muscular. But because the BMI is just completely nonsense. For
Yeah,
me.
I'm mine's
officially
muscle too.
obese, so I'm allowed to take the piss. What, any other fat jokes you want to get out of the way?
Maybe the film just ends with Bond having like a heart attack. Like it's the last third of the film, all the action's happening, and he's like, I'm having shooting pains in my arm, and they're like, oh, are you all right? And he's like, no, I just need to sit down. And they call out an ambulance, and it's very sad, and he doesn't make it, and it's just. And it's much like the end of this film. It's just like a really sad bit of pathos tacked on at the end of the film.
So Blofeld is sort of like, "Oh, you're right. They're on the bobsled," and
he gets trapped in the bobsled run.
he rolls down it like a marble run.
We should have more pictures like this. Just the same film, but with a fat man in the lead.
Okay, so my pitch. You know when the in this film we just watched, what was it?
On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service, when he goes to the Swiss clinic, and he's pretending to be a gay man in a kilt, and all the women are there. Basically, all that just reminded me of like a Blake Edwards late 60s sexy comedy. Yeah, this is 1969, so the next film is 71. Let's tap into the British tradition of sex comedies that were being made at this time. So I've basically done a carry-on Bond, but I've called it Bond Goes Bonkers.
Brilliant.
I haven't got much of a plot, but basically, Lazenby's left, so we need a new Bond. I've gone with Harry H. Corbett. At the time, he was most famous for playing Harold Steptoe on Steptoe and Son.
Oh, okay.
But he did appear in some Carry-On films, or at least one anyway. But he was desperate to shake that Harold Steptoe image. Mm-hmm. So, he put a nice tuxedo on him. He could do the voice and all that. I think he'd make quite a nice Bond. I've got casting here. M, played by Kenneth Williams. Moneypenny would be Hattie Jakes.
Brilliant.
Well, we could do all the fat jokes you want there.
Yeah, that's great.
Because that's what she was there for.
Who'd be Q?
Q would be Charles Hawtrey.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
All the gadgets would be like vaguely phallic and very like suggestive in some way.
Here you go, Bond. This gadget's called a dildo.
I've got a little bit of plot. I've got a bit of a setup. So the setup is that Bond has to infiltrate Miss World competition.
Brilliant.
Not in like as a woman. I don't mean going undercover like Miss Congeniality. And he could get some help from Bob Hope, who presented Miss World at the time, and it could turn out he's like an undercover CIA agent.
Is it called Miss World Is Not Enough?
Oh, yes. Oh, perfect.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
And of course, you get Bob Hope in. That's a nice little... That gets your American audience happy, because they're someone they recognise. Oh, yeah, so the main villain is going to be Sid James. He'll be playing like a South African millionaire who runs Miss World, but he's using it to like as a cover for international racketeering or something like that. And so there's back and forth, the usual sort of shtick. But I like that all of South African Sid James's like minions, all these henchmen could be like glamorous models.
Yeah.
And so, like, because I like the idea of Bond having to punch women. It's always when he's at his best, when he's hitting women. So, and then you could have like the main Bond girl would be like one of the contestants, but like, you know how they have a talent section in Miss World?
Yeah. I'm
not sure they did in 1970, to be honest, but let's say they did. So her talent could be like martial arts. And so she's like a kick-ass 1971 female.
Can there be a gadget that's given to him by Q that's a slide whistle, but when he blows it, women's bras just fly off into the sky? They just spring off.
Yeah. Oh, what's happened to me bra? That was Barbara Windsor, by the way. I think that's about all I've got. Basically, he shags everyone and gets the bad guy. But yeah, sex comedy. Go full sex comedy.
Hey,
with Bond.
Alan, I think we should team up and combine our ideas.
Fat porn.
Yeah. There's a market for it.
Is there?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a market for sneezing porn.
Oh. Why?
I don't know.
Google it and find out.
There's a market for porn of women that are like 50 feet tall and pick up the little men and put them in their mouths and swallow them whole.
And then shit them out.
What?
That's a relatively common fetish.
Giant women that eat little men?
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense.
Does it?
Well, no.
Save it for... Will we see more of this in the second week of February?
Yeah.
Our Valentine's Day episode.
Well, that's
anyway.
about all I've got. Calvin,
yes.
As the proper Bond fan, have you going to give us a proper Bond pitch?
I am actually, yes, because my pitch is sort of what would it look like if George Lazenby had come back for another Bond film after On Her Majesty's Secret Service? If they'd done Diamonds Are Forever with George Lazenby. So there are some similarities to Diamonds Are Forever in here, which we'll cover in more detail when we next get to another Bond film. But yeah, I'll just jump right in. So I'd start the film similar to how Diamonds Are Forever actually begins, where Sean Connery is punching his way around the globe, asking people to reveal the location of Blofeld. Except it would be with Lazenby. So I have a series of quick scenes of him punching his way around the globe and eventually finding Blofeld, who is in a wheelchair now, because you'll notice that he had a neck brace on at the end of On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So we're going to maintain that. He's in a wheelchair. So he can't walk, he's completely paralysed, but he can flip switches and stuff on his wheelchair, and there's all these like gadgets that shoot out at Bond and stuff. But Bond has to dodge all these traps, and there's a fight scene. And Bond kills Blofeld, and feels avenged.
Does he drop him down a chimney stack?
We'll get there.
Okay.
So then we have the title sequence, Diamonds Are Forever, Forever. And now the plot of the film is largely similar to how it is in the Sean Connery version, except with a few exceptions. So I'm going to bring back Irma Bunt from On Her Majesty's Secret Service, because that character is like, I mean, she's the one that wields the gun that shoots Bond's wife. She never reappears in the series again. She never shows up. There's no vengeance on her. Blofeld was just driving the car.
Could they not just get what's her name from Russia with Love back?
Oh, Rosa Klebb.
Yeah, doesn't it seem like they just wanted her back?
They're more or less the same character. They do love these
hard-faced German women.
Did she die at the end of From Russia with Love?
Yeah, she got shot by Tanya.
No, they should have brought her back to life somehow. Robot arm. She should have a robot arm.
Oh, you're getting ahead of me.
Okay.
So anyway, I'd have the film set in South Africa rather than Las Vegas, where Diamonds Are Forever is set.
Why? What? Am I missing something that you two keep going for South African stuff?
Oddly enough, no.
No. I mean, Sid James is South African, so that's why I did that.
Is he?
Yeah. He was, and he had to lose the accent when he came over to England and everything. But yeah, I'm sure he could do the accent. That's why I went for that with him.
Oh, maybe he could be in my film then, because this is like 1970 when I'm setting this, like immediately after Majesty's Secret Service. Anyway, so yes, it's going to be set in South Africa because there's diamond mines there, so the whole thing needs to be centered around diamond mines. Yes. So I'd have
diamonds.
So I'd have Bond girls in it, but Bond would be very different with them in this film. I'd actually like to see Bond spend much of the film impotent. Because
he's grieving, yes?
Yeah, he's grieving, and he doesn't actually want to shag any of these women because his wife has fucking died.
No, he wants to, but you know, like he thinks he wants to because it's what he's supposed to do. But like his mind, psychologically, his subconscious won't let him.
Yeah, that's
do
what
it.
it should be. Yeah. That's exactly what.
And so this is constant frustration. He's lost his mojo.
He lost his mojo.
Can make a film about that.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great film. That sounds like it'd be better than any of the Bond films ever made.
Anyway, he does meet a diamond smuggler by the name of Tiffany Case, who, and she...
Did you make that all by yourself? Or
No, that's the Bond girl's
Diamond
name in
film?
the next film.
Oh my god, that's actually... I thought you were doing that as a joke.
No, the next film has a better Bond girl name, but I'm not going to spoil it. We'll get there eventually. Anyway, and she's going to be his main sort of relationship for the film, but they're not going to have sex or anything. They're going to, you know, sort of... He's going to have some emotional scenes where they talk about how he's coping with his grief and all that kind of stuff. So, since Blofeld died, Irma is the head of Spectre, and Bond eventually finds her secret base at a secret diamond mine in the middle of nowhere in South Africa, where she has constructed a giant laser made of diamonds. They've, like, got...
Laser.
They've made some kind of special, like, laser thing out of molten diamonds. And she's actually, Alan, threatening to blow up the moon unless her ransom demands are met.
How do you make molten diamonds?
I don't know, but that's what's going on.
Extraordinarily hot.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so
it's almost like liquid hot magma.
Yes, it's like that, but diamonds.
Okay.
Bond gets there and kills Bunt, but then it's revealed that the Blofeld he killed at the start was actually just a clone. And Bond is then confronted with a dozen Blofelds, and they're all in wheelchairs, and they've all got gadgets, and they're shooting all the stuff at Bond. And
is one of them an exact replica, but 1/8 the size?
Anyway, Bond works his way through all these, and eventually he comes to the real Blofeld, the boss Blofeld, who is now using a mechanical robotic suit to move around. And there's a huge fight that takes place in the diamond mine, and they're near the laser, they're near the core of it, which is this molten diamond stuff. And Bond defeats Blofeld and picks him up, and he's ready to toss him in the molten diamond because that's going to be what needs to be done to. Because the laser's about to go off and something has to happen soon. So Bond is about to toss Blofeld into the thing, and Blofeld says, "Haha, Bond, if you do that, this whole place and everything within a 10-mile radius will be destroyed." But with the missile about to fire at the moon, Bond has no choice. He leaps into the molten diamond core with Blofeld in his hands, sacrificing himself along with Blofeld to save the world. Then we have the end credits. And then we have a post-credits scene, and it's in M's office, and Bernard Lee is M.
Can I guess what's going to happen?
No, you can't. Let me have this moment. He's talking to a man... Okay, now go on, guess.
Well, my guess is Sean Connery walks in, and he says, sorry I've been gone for a little bit of a holiday. Did that lookalike you got on this one-off occasion do all right in my absence? Pretending to be me, and they went, "No, he died. We're never going to do that again. It was a really bad idea." And so from now on, you're the only James Bond. That's your birth name anyway. So it'd be silly to. I don't really know what we were planning, like why we even thought it would be a good idea in the first place.
Well, my guess is that Bond walks in, but he's now coated with a solid diamond exoskeleton that is impenetrable to bullets.
You know, Saul, you're not actually far off from what they actually do in Diamonds Are Forever. At one point, someone does go up to Connery and says, "Oh, did you enjoy your holiday? I hear you had a bit of a break recently." Anyway, but no, it's in M's office, and Bernard Lee is there.
Wait, so Bond is definitely a codename then?
So... M is talking to a man, we don't see his face, and he says, "You have big boots to fill, you know. We don't assign the name and number of James Bond 007 to just anyone." And then we see that the man he's talking to is actually Roger Moore, who stands up, raises an eyebrow, and says, "My name is Bond, James Bond," and then that's the end of the film.
So, Calvin, your pitch is for the codename theory, basically. In such that you're pitching it as an alternate universe that doesn't exist.
Yes.
Yes. Not.
I'm coming round to this codename theory. I think it might actually have some truth to it.
It doesn't, and we'll get there. Like, the wife is the one thing that holds them all together.
But Daniel Craig doesn't have a wife.
No, but that is a fresh reboot.
Beginning. Oh, so Daniel
what do you mean
Craig's
the wife
codename?
holds them together?
I mean, the wife is the thing that connects all the bonds.
Why? What? Because they were all married to the same woman? A woman can have more than one husband.
We'll get there.
Sexist.
But if Daniel Craig's a reboot, how come then he does, when he's looking at those pictures of past enemies?
But he doesn't.
It's got...
Unless we're talking about the James Bond video game 007 Legends, in which case he does have memories back to the old classic films. But, yeah, anyway, that's not canon.
But hang on. If James Bond's the same guy, then that means...
How come he doesn't get older?
That's what I mean. That means he's got to be about 100 years old in Casino Royale, right? 90?
It's a shifting timeline. It's not,
What?
you know... It's a shifting timeline. It
sounds like science fiction to me. That's not...
So, George Lazenby, we hardly knew ye.
No, Diamonds Are Forever is next, yes.
Oh, ding dong, who's this? Oh, look who's back.
Oh,
it's Scottish Bond.
Oh, Japanese Bond, we haven't seen you in ages. Oh, hello, lads.
I've been away.
Are you ready to go to Las Vegas, Japanese Bond?
Japanese Bond, you sound a bit different. Are you being played by a different actor?
No, not yet. Oh, bloody hell, mate. Are you got any Sheilas around here?
Oh, no.
I'm not really gay, you know. I was just pretending.
You know, that was actually something that the producers did to George Lazenby. They, because he was a male model, they thought he might be gay, so they hired prostitutes and sent them up to his hotel room, and then had the prostitutes report back. Yes.
What? Because if he was gay, he couldn't be James Bond.
Yes.
Yes. In 1969, yeah. I mean, now he wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, hello, it's me, Japanese Bond, here to say goodbye for the episode. I know I wasn't in on Her Majesty's Secret Service. On Her Majesty's Secret Service was the big starring role for my good pal, homosexual Bond. Not to be confused with Frankenstein Bond, who's also gay but doesn't let it define his character, you know. Oh, hello, homosexual Bond. How are you? Oh, hello, Japanese Bond. I'm very well, thank you. You know, I bet the listeners listening out now are expecting some kind of camp voice to emanate from you. But you just sound like I do. Oh, I know, that's because even though I may be a gay James Bond, we're all Scottish on the inside, we are. Anyway, homosexual Bond, you've been warned. I've told you to stay out of my swamp!
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I'm the sharpest tool in the show.